Hello and welcome to Flight Training Apps, your aviation training partner. The following video is a small portion of our complete private pilot oral app. In this app, you'll see a realistic enactment of a typical Checkride oral and develop the knowledge and confidence necessary to pass the ground portion of the practical test. And don't forget our flight portion app, a 2.5-hour video packed with advice on how to perform all private pilot takeoffs, landings, and flight maneuvers. For more information on all of our products, visit flighttrainingapps.com.
Hi, I'm Danielle. A short time ago, I earned my private pilot certificate. Today, I'm playing the role of student pilot as part of a realistic enactment of what you can expect on the ground portion of your private pilot practical test.
And I'm Dave Leonard, an FAA designated pilot examiner here in San Diego. I'm here with Danielle to present an example of the kind of questions and scenarios that make up a typical private pilot oral. Of course, your examiner will ask somewhat different questions, but you can be sure that the same areas of operation and elements addressed here will be tested. So Danielle, let's get started by first of all explaining what it is we're going to do today.
Perfect.
Okay, Danielle, well, let's go ahead and get started here. And you probably remember that when we scheduled your appointment for today, I asked you for that FTN or FAA tracking number that I've used on the IACRA website here this morning to pull up your IACRA electronic application. So we're going to go over that here shortly. Okay. But in the meantime, what I want to do is begin here at the beginning of the PTS, Practical Test Standards book. For private pilot, there's an examiner's practical test checklist in here, and I'd like to just go through here and ask you to get out some of the documents that we need to take a look at today to qualify you for the test. So if you could please get your student pilot and medical certificate out for me, government-issued photo ID, and I'm also going to need your logbook and your knowledge test results.
Okay, perfect.
I'm now checking to make sure that the aeronautical experience requirements of 61109 are met. Make sure you review these requirements carefully with your instructor.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll take a look at your logbook here if I may, and I'm just going to go ahead and check your hours against what's in IACRA here, and also that you meet all the minimum requirements to take the test today.
Perfect.
I'm checking to make sure that the instructor has made the endorsements required for the practical test shown in this example. Make sure your instructor has given you all of these endorsements as well as documenting in your logbook the ground training required by 61107 and also 61105 if applicable.
All right, very good. Okay, your times look good. If I could ask you to look up a couple of cross-country flights that you did for me. One of them that you had to do specifically was what we call a long cross-country, and that was a cross-country that you did that was at least 150 nautical miles with stops at 3 points, one of which was at least 50 miles from where you originally departed. So if you could find that for me, maybe save us a little time here.
Certainly.
We'll take a look at that, and maybe you can be telling me about where you went while you find that.
Not a problem. I went from Montgomery Field to Thermal to French Valley and back to Montgomery Field.
Okay, and we checked all your times. Okay, the other thing we're going to need to do now is I'm going to have you go ahead and log on to IACRA, and there's really two things we're going to need to have you do. One of which is to go ahead and read, if you haven't seen it already, the Pilot's Bill of Rights acknowledgement. Just read that, and there's a link that you'll click on there to acknowledge that you've read and understand it and don't have any concerns or issues with it. Also, in that area on IACRA, we're going to have you electronically sign your IACRA application now that I've verified your ID. Okay?
Perfect.
Okay, just a couple things that I need to just mention to you regarding the test today. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the FAA's Practical Test Standard book here for private pilot. And the objective here is we're going to go through and first do the ground portion here, commonly referred to as the oral, which will just be an informal question and answer session. And assuming that you meet all the standards in that portion, then we'll go ahead and move on and conduct the flight portion. And if you meet all of the minimum standards in the practical test standards book today, then you'll earn your private pilot certificate, okay?
Great.
There are two other possible outcomes to the test that I'm required to make you aware of also. One of which says that if for some reason today one or more of the standards are not met during the test, then basically the test will be unsatisfactory. You'll get what's called a notice of disapproval, which will require you to obtain additional training on what area or areas were unsatisfactory, that is, they didn't meet the standards, and will allow us to retest again at a future date to meet those standards. And the third possible outcome is what's called a letter of discontinuance, which is basically just an incomplete. What that means is that if for some reason we cannot finish the test today through no fault of our own, and otherwise everything is satisfactory, for example, weather or maintenance, something like that pops up, then you'll get a letter showing what you've passed up to the point that we have to stop, and everything that has passed today will be good for 60 days for us then to get back together during that 60-day period, complete the test, and hopefully have a satisfactory outcome. Okay?
Perfect.
Any questions about the possible outcomes or the format or what we're going to do today?
No, not that I can think of.
Okay, great. Just a couple little things I'll mention. This is just my plan of action here. It's a place for me to take notes. It's a checklist for me to stay organized and make sure we complete everything that we need to do today. And I'll be looking down and jotting notes from time to time, so please don't let that distract you or worry that maybe you said something incorrect. Just ignore me while I do my record keeping here and just continue. If I want you to pause, I'll just go ahead and ask you to do so I can make sure and hear everything that you're trying to tell me. Okay. Any questions?
No.
All right. Well, let's get started. The test has begun.